Hi, World Hoppers. After 2 weeks of touring the Shattered Plains and going to Dragonsteel Nexus, I need a drink. Much better. I know a lot of you weren't able to go to the convention because it sold out in minutes. But I'll do my best to share the experience with you. So grab a drink, settle in, and dive with me into the Cosmere as I take you through my story and Dragonsteel Nexus 2024. As I mentioned before, my wife and I flew from Costa Rica a week before the con and embarked on a road trip across Utah to explore the landscapes that inspired the Stormlight archive. I'll be posting that video soon, and if you're seeing this later, here's the link. But as you can imagine, that was a long road trip, a lot of driving, a lot of hiking, so we were already tired before the high storm even began. So on setup day, that was the day before the con actually began, we returned to Salt Lake City after a 4-hour drive from Bryce Canyon, and Jason Denzel, the author of the booth, and Brooke and Ryan, they had already set it up, and they received us with our first surprise, our badge. Well, badges, and they came with these really cool lanyards of the different Radiant orders. So I got Windrunner, and I stole this from my wife, Lightweaver. We also got these cool passports, World Hopper passports. They also gave us something that was really a surprise, and they were some booster packs of what seemed to be like a card game called Lost Tales. Now, I have to admit, at first, I was a bit worried that it was a TCG like Magic the Gathering or Yu-Gi-Oh! And that Dragonsteel was spreading itself a little bit too thin, you know? Because doing one of those is a huge undertaking. But no, it's something completely different and new. So these are trading cards, but they're story trading cards. They have artwork on one side and parts of a story on the other. So you go collecting these from the booster packs and trading with other people. And as you put them together, on one side, they go forming like a large spread art piece. And on the other side, you get the full narrative of the story. So that's a really cool idea. All during the con, you would see people everywhere just sitting down with binders. Those binders, they also sell those too. Just trading cards. So it was really interactive and cool. Now, setup was a hive's nest. Everybody was busy setting up their booths. There were already huge lines for registration. But what surprised me the most were people camping outside in the freezing cold to be the first to get their copies of Wind and Truth. So we're here the day before Nexus, and look at this line. Gentlemen, what are you waiting for?
Low number books.
Low
for the collectors. Low numbers.
For the collectors.
Yeah. Yes.
And how long have you been here?
4 a.m.
4 a.m.
Officially 4 a.m.
Yeah, officially 4 a.m.
4 a.m.
18 hours it'll be before we pick up our book. Or at least before we pick up our tag to pick up our book tomorrow.
Ooh. Yeah. And are you going to have to sleep here all night?
We gotta stay till 10.
10 p.m. tonight, they will hand out the numbers.
Well, good luck.
Thank you.
Bridge 4.
Bridge 4 a.m.
Bridge 4 a.m. Now, to show you what they were meaning about low numbers, this is my copy of Wind and Truth, by the way, and it came with this cool bookmark, an epic bookmark for an epic book. That's what Brandon says. I got number 2441. Definitely not a low number, but I wasn't willing to stay out in the cold for 18 hours. Now, the book actually came, I got like the merch bundle. So it came with the con shirt of Nexus 2024, the pin of the convention, a sticker of the same thing, Zeth pin also, and Mr. Krabs here, Chol plushie. So, as you can imagine, we got a lot of things at the con. One of the good things of arriving the day before is that, well, at first, I was able to see Brandon doing interviews in the back. And I was like, fingers crossed that he would like eventually come out and be able to meet him. But no. When they did leave and stopped doing the interviews, they left the Dragonsteel booth alone, and I was able to go inside and have it all to myself. Well, I'm here at the Dragonsteel booth, and there's a surprise that I was not expecting. Nerdforge made bound books, leather-bound books of the whole 5 set of the Stormlight archive. And let me just say, Martina, if you eventually see this, you did a great job. It's amazing. I bet that I wasn't supposed to see them. I think that I got there like a little bit after they had recorded them giving it to Brandon, and they were gone the very next day, and they didn't appear again during the rest of the con, so that was a lot of luck on my side. Thursday, December 5th was D-Day. At 11 a.m., the Fanderlanche began. Thousands of world hoppers stormed the exhibitor hall and swarmed our booth in search of passport stamps. Now, let me explain what those stamps were all about. This thing was full of quests, and certain booths that were like sponsors of the event, they had different stamps that the world hoppers had to go collecting. So this one is actually, the design is based off the Stone Golem of Qual Jam, a short story of Jason Denzel. So people would go filling these out, and as a reward, they would get more booster packs to complete their stories of the Lost Tales. As you can imagine, where prizes are involved, people go nuts, okay? So it was swarms and waves after wave coming at the booth. And even between 4 people, I mean, it was hard to keep up. I bet I stamped at least, I don't know, if not hundreds, like thousands of passports. But hey, I mean, I don't complain, because whenever the line kind of like piled up, I was able to give my Mithartis pitch that now I'm gonna share with you. So, on the channel, we do epic stories, we interview talented artists and authors, and also cinematic reviews. And coming soon, I'll be posting and reading a full fanfic novella inspired on the Stormlight archive. It's called The Axe Hounds, and it's a what-if story if Dalinar had become king and Zeth had killed him instead. It's told from the point of view of some Alethi shot troops, so tonally it's kind of like the Alethi Band of Brothers. It's amazing, you don't want to miss out, so like and subscribe, because it's coming soon. Also, if you came by, I would have given you one of these cool bookmarks. This is an original art piece by a good friend of mine. He's a Costa Rican artist called Andres Ramirez, and one of the few artists here that actually do fantasy and sci-fi. So hopefully I'm gonna have him on the channel soon. Despite stamping 1 million passports, mine is practically empty. So, I mean, it's a shame, but it was simply like working at the booth and recording footage for you guys. It was just too busy. I would have had to be like Dr. Manhattan and be everywhere at once to be able to like enjoy the full event. Even if you weren't working at a booth, there was so much going on that you did have to like plan ahead and choose your activities, because I mean, there were at least 5 simultaneous things going on. That's how these big cons are. But there was a lot of footage that I did manage to capture of activities, and here's a few of them. Arts and crafts seemed to be a lot of fun. I think that especially the Soulcaster crafting looked cool. Also, painting the miniatures, there was also a contest of that.
She's just in the air, as depicted here, just seething with anger and getting ready to throw lightning
You
again.
get a hit reaction to pull a Sanderson and make a lewd gesture.
Okay.
I then go into the.
You know what? For that, roll a plot dice. We're gonna raise the stakes.
She's gonna hit you as your reaction. Oh my!
Yes! A complication has arisen.
I really wanted to do a one-shot of the Cosmere RPG and also learn how to play the Mistborn deck building game, but those take time that I simply didn't have. But of course, I did get my own copy of the Mistborn deck building game. So I will be doing a review of this eventually, after I get done with all the con madness. And how I got it at Nexus, it came with the nice foil cards. So, I mean, these look amazing. And they even came with a special card that they were only giving out at Gen Con. So yeah, we really lucked out with that. And lucky for you guys, I also spoke with a lot of the talented people over at Brotherwise Games and even interviewed their president, Johnny O'Neill. So this is what he had to say.
Will we be getting Mistborn minis eventually with the RPG?
Mistborn minis are definitely something that is in my plans personally. We don't have a specific timeline for them yet. They're not something, the way we work with Dragonsteel is sometimes they come to us and say, hey, we want you to make such and such a thing. More often we go to them and we pitch to them. We say, okay. It was very clear, out of anything that fans would want, we thought an RPG was the top thing. We knew that sort of the thing people maybe wanted second most was a big epic Stormlight game like War of the Ring or Star Wars Rebellion. So that's the next thing we're working on. Stormlight miniatures are something I think they know fans want, we know fans want, but they're not yet in one of our product plans that is Dragonsteel approved. So okay. I can say, yeah, this is going to happen, but not 100% sure when.
When will I get my 2-foot-tall Thunderclast?
Yeah, that would be. That is another one where a Thunderclast would be, definitely a huge or gargantuan scale miniature, right? They're 40 feet tall, so that is something I definitely want to make, though we don't have it currently. That's a real hole actually right now. We should make that happen. We do have a great set of new miniatures coming with the RPG.
Yeah.
So that is something,
16, or they ended up being 19 in total, something like that.
19, or maybe we should round that up to 20. We'll see.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's surprise is always coming from the master himself.
Yeah, we're always there's always another secret.
Well, you heard Johnny. If we eventually get that 2-foot Thunderclast, you can thank me in the comments. He had much more to say about working with Brandon and helping flesh out unexplored parts of the Cosmere through the RPG, so I'll post the full interview here when it's ready. Now, not all of the battles that happened at Nexus were roleplay. There was a dueling arena where they did spear fighting demos and also armored combat.
We have Jason, Murder of Pros!
So there I was, seeing two teams bash the hell out of each other when a halo of bright pink and blue hair caught my eye. I turned, and there was Martina and Hansi of Nerdforge standing next to me. And I was like, what?
We're here, and frickin' Nerdforge! So awesome! Nice meeting you too. And I can't believe your video with Adam Savage. I mean, how was that?
That was so much fun.
That was really fun, yeah.
He's like the nicest, sweetest guy.
I can imagine.
Same guy in real life as he is on TV. It's just super wholesome, super motivated, a lot of energy. Yeah, very, very cool guy.
Well, I mean, I love your videos. Keep on making so much incredible stuff. Okay.
Now, I have to admit that I feel like an idiot for not asking about those incredible leather-bound Stormlight books that they did and meeting Brandon, but I mean, hey, that's what happens when you stumble into Legends. Your brain turns to mush. But luckily, I was able to go to their panel with Wren from Corridor Digital and Matt from Nerd of the Rings. And as you can imagine, having all of them together was hilarious.
But the most hurtful comment is still gonna be like, oh, I used to watch you as I was a kid, when I was a kid.
Yes, I haven't turned 30 yet. Oh, it's like, or the comments was like, wow, I didn't know you're still making videos. Or the, welcome back. I never left. I really want to adapt the prologue to A Way of Kings, because I think it's like the perfect sort of small, short action piece. I've given so much thought to this, and it would just be very hard. It would be expensive to do it at a good enough caliber that I would be proud of, because I could do the $0 version of it and it would be janky. And trust, I'm all about embracing the jank, but at a certain point, it's like, hey Brandon, hey, at? Like, you want to help out on this? Well, no, we'll see.
Another great panel was of my favorite book series, The Wheel of Time, and The Legacy of Robert Jordan. Now, something hilarious happened. This dude dressed as Randall Thor just gets up, lifts the dragon banner, and starts running around the room.
You have to do that the entire panel. Get your exercise in.
This is one of my many burdens.
I'm actually okay with this. I think we should count laps. We will all donate $10 to the Lightweaver Foundation for every lap Rand runs, right?
But all jokes aside, there were some great moments in the panel that really brought us together as fans of the Wheel of Time.
Everyone says, well, we're all standing on Tolkien's shoulders. I agree, but giants have a habit of standing on each other's shoulders. It's a weird thing about them. And Robert Jordan, to me, is like the tallest giant since Tolkien. He took what Tolkien ran with, because I want to give Tolkien all the credit, and he started sprinting, in my opinion. And that's why it's 15 books instead of, 3 or 4.
And I asked her, I said, so what do you think that Jim would have thought of the show, right? And I think that, I know we're not talking about the show, but I think this is a relevant question. And she said, I don't know. And so we were going along, and all of a sudden she goes, I know. She goes, he would have loved the royalty checks.
I really wanted to record the release party and other exciting panels happening in the main hall, but guarding the threshold was a huge sign saying, "You shall not record." As a disclaimer, I did send several emails to Dragonsteel beforehand asking for permission, but they never answered. So it is what it is. But at least that didn't stop me from recording incredible cosplayers. Randall Thor was not the only one, and I lost count of how many mist cloaks and shard blades and shard plates, and there were just hundreds of people there in costume. So this is some of what I was able to find.
Young men's reign will turn this time. This is a prophet's call.
I'm cosplaying Yasna from specifically the Rhythm of War. After I read Rhythm of War, I saw that she had a shard plate that she took into war or to battle, and I really wanted to cosplay that. So I reached out to the illustrators Ben McSweeney and also Isaac Stewart and asked them for some artwork that they had of her shard plate, which they were gracious enough to email to me, and I used that for inspiration of my cosplay.
That's amazing. And yours?
Yeah, and well, I got dragged into reading Stormlight Archive by some online gaming friends. They knew that I was cosplaying, and when I got really into Stormlight Archive, they were like, okay, so when are you going to make a shard plate? And I was like, I guess I have to make one now. So I started Googling, and I figured what order I liked most. And I started to look for reference pictures, and I found Peter Paneff's design. And I shot him a message, asked him, hey, is it okay if I cosplay your art, pretty much? And he said yes, and here we are.
As I said, there were a lot of cosplayers. Too much to put in this video, so I'll be doing a separate video where I'll be placing all of the cosplays I was able to record and the interviews. So look forward to that, and I'll be plugging that here. If I had to choose my favorite, I would have to say Kaladin in shard plate. That suit was amazing, the way that it lit up and how mist just steamed out of the Windrunner symbol on his chest. But it wouldn't be fair to compare that one with the rest of the cosplayers because it did belong to a professional exhibit called Hoid's Museum. That place was amazing. I mean, just on the outside, it had a chasm fiend bursting through the roof. It had a Thunderclast punching through the wall. It had a life-size Chul outside, a statue of a Radiant, and inside there were tokens of Hoid's collection from all over the Cosmere. So, I mean, just look inside and let me know in the comments all the different things that you were able to spot. Now, don't get the wrong idea that being an exhibitor sucked, because it did not. I mean, I know that I wasn't able to go to all the activities, but it had its own rewards in the sense that being a part of that community of authors and artists all working together to share their stories was amazing. And just hanging out with them, and there were no egos there getting in the way. Literally, we were just working side by side, lifting this bridge that is called fantasy. And it was intoxicating, that like thrill. And I just wanted to go home and start writing again and finish my novel.
Let it be known, Thomas was the first true fan of Mithartis.
And I welcome all that come after.
Another perk of being an exhibitor was meeting you guys. Mithartis is still a small channel, so when I heard someone shout, "Hey MJ!" I couldn't believe it. Others came up and said, "Hey, you're the statue guy," referring to my review of the Clashing Storm statue. So, to everyone that approached me and said hi, thank you so much. It really means the world and motivates me to keep on going. Another benefit was that on the second and third day, we had an exclusive hour in the morning to be able to shop at the Dragonsteel booth. And boy, did I splurge. I got this. It's a cool little satchel. Windrunner socks, of course. Bridge for badge, patch. This shirt, actually, also. This cool pin of Hoid that says, "One can have a wit, but not a witless." And it has this like reflection thing, so you are the witless. Lightweaver pin, because if I had to choose an order, I'm technically a Lightweaver. We also had time to go to the other booths before and after general admission could enter the exhibition hall, and that led to a lot of memorable encounters. For example, Daniel Greene and his fiancée Kayla.
Here I am with Daniel Greene. We're at Dragonsteel here at the booth, and Daniel, of course, sold out his books. I was coming here to get a signed copy and it already sold out.
So sorry. They were just amazing people. It was great just geeking out with Daniel about Berserk and also speaking about how to juggle a YouTube channel without neglecting your writing. And getting this copy of Neon Ghosts was a journey in itself. They had to go and get copies from local bookstores, and they were able to get 7. The next day, I was waiting in line, and they supposedly had the book ready for me. And I was there when Bryce from Wraithmarked came by. He was like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And he was like, "Sorry, dude. We screwed up and we sold your copy. Someone before, I sold 2 copies to one person, and so yours is gone. I'm so sorry." And I was like, no. So I stayed in the line because I still wanted to pass by and say hi. And when I got there, Kayla was like, she went into the back, pulled this out and said, "I wasn't gonna forget you, MJ." And she gave me this. And so I gave it to Daniel, and he, you can see it here. He just graffitied the hell out of it, and I'm gonna cherish this. Thank you guys so much for that. I also met Bookborn and her husband Zach Argyle, and we spoke about the pleasures of indie publishing and being able to art direct your own covers. Also, Steve from Read and Find Out. He's just hilarious and an amazing person too. And it doesn't surprise me that he's also an actor for voiceover and also on the stage. And he gave me this really cool matchbook that says Stormlight, but could you be fire? I love this. Also, Wesley Chu, he's hilarious. He's also a former stunt double and he's a martial artist. So each morning when we were getting ready, he would start stretching and doing cartwheels, and he would tear out the sheet off his booth and do like a flourish. And meanwhile, everybody was going like, "Wesley, Wesley." I mean, the dude was just so much fun. And he sold me this copy, this UK edition. I mean, just look at this side of The Art of Prophecy. I read this, it's an amazing book. And he was so kind to sign it for me here. And just a couple booths away was the cover artist of, I mean, just look at this. She's called Tran Nguyen. She signed it for me and did this cute little drawing. And let me just say, she is such a nice person. I mean, the only way to describe her personality is if, like, she's a ray of sunshine. And it's incredible how people that are so incredibly talented can also be so humble. I also got to meet Steve Argyle and buy an art print of what is my favorite Cosmere artwork of all time. Vin from Mistborn. Steve said that it took him only 60 hours to do this. The original is oil on canvas, so a lot of that time it's just waiting for paint to dry. I mean, I know that the dude is an S-tier pro, but damn, just a week and a half to do this? I mean, the talent of these people is just mind-boggling. I also met Eldon Thompson. He is kind of like the pupil of Terry Brooks, the author of Shannara. And he's also like just an incredible person. We had dinner with him and also with Sean Speakman and the team over at Grim Oak Press. And of course I had to get their grimoire and get it signed by them and by the cover artist, Donato Giancola. A huge advantage of being at Nexus is being surrounded by the Dragonsteel team, and I got my Wind and Truth copy just autographed by everyone. I passed by the booth where Ben McSweeney was and spoke with him about traditional animation. That's a passion of mine also, and I've worked as a director of animation. Also spoke with Isaac Stewart here. They both signed the book. Donato Giancola, that he did these incredible end papers here. Miranda Meeks, she did these and also got those signed. Howard Lyon, he did this portrait of Brandon here and also worked with Isaac on the map. I also spoke with Peter Ahlstrom and the editing team. They explained in length about like the streamlined editing process that they did for such a large novel as Wind and Truth and being able to take it out in such a short time frame. I also met Katie Payne. She's the art director for the Cosmere RPG and for the Mistborn deck building game. Jancy Patterson, she is the co-author of the Skyward series, and it was really fun to geek out with her about our shared hobby of customizing figures. Another incredible person was Travis Deming. He is an author and illustrator. I mean, talk about a modern James Gurney. We just clicked and about his like really innovative approach to interactive storytelling. For example, he has like these artworks with QR codes that gives you like more details about the world. And these are things that I was actually like pondering for my own novel. Austin Hartel, he did this incredible postcard and signed it for me. And he also worked on the Mistborn deck building game and the Cosmere RPG. And we nerded about like the mechanics of soulcasters and lore, and also about what kind of like the process behind working on those teams of so many artists. I also got these really cool Stormlight Archive playing cards from Rebecca Sorge Jensen. So I wanted to interview all of them and many, many more. I mean, there are so many stories. They just go on and on. But I seriously underestimated just the sheer size of the crowd, the noise, and the exhaustion of all the exhibitors there. So I will be doing interviews with them, and I'll be posting them on the channel in the following weeks and months. But one encounter stood above the rest. And that was, of course, meeting the master himself, Brandon Sanderson. On the last day, we received a message in our span reads that said, "Don't leave, Brandon will be visiting the booths at 7 p.m. So you can imagine how excited we were.
Thanks so much.
And Brandon, I'd just like to thank you for posting your classes online. They don't teach creative writing in my country, and that's what I use to be able to switch from screenplay into prose. So thank you so much.
Thank you all.
That meant a lot. During the Wind and Truth release party, a fan asked Brandon if he thought he'd eventually be considered a revolutionary author. He responded, "That's for history to tell." But I believe he will be. The true Fanderlanche will be the generations of fantasy writers that he inspires through his books and lessons. And I hope to be among them when I eventually publish my own novel. It's hard to cap that, but to give a sense of closure to my Nexus story, I want to talk about the magic act that was this con. For 4 days, Salt Lake City truly became Urithiru. Not just the convention center, but the entire city. One day, several blocks away from the Salt Palace, I bumped into a group of fans in Windrunner uniforms. I said, "Bridge 4!" They responded with a salute, and one of them tossed me a diamond chip and said, "For the road, Gancho." Even at the airport, we were going through the security checkpoint and the TSA officer stopped me and asked, "Do you have a crab in your luggage?" And I was like, "What?" And of course I didn't understand. So she said, "I guess you didn't go to the convention." And then it hit me and I was like, "Oh, I guess you mean a chol. I'm sorry, I just didn't understand your strange tongue." But the moment that stayed with me the most happened as I left the Worldhopper Ball, which I'll share in part 2 because this video is already too long. I ran into a group of cosplayers and one of them was dressed as Syl and full blue body paint and blue wig. And she pulled this leaf out of her bag and gave it to me with a smile. Then said, "Remember that you matter." You see, that's the kind of magic that blurs the lines between fiction and reality. And that can only happen when so many like-minded souls gather in a single place. Thousands of people celebrating words on a page. If that isn't magic, I don't know what is. Thank you for watching. I'm MJ Lauren, and I'll see you in part 2 for the Worldhopper Ball. Damn, that's good.